Hello, welcome back to another episode of me walking around the woods. Today I'm in west central Rhode Island in a place called Wickaboxet. And here I'm in a pine forest along a big swamp, or along, I guess, the shores. The biome divergent line, I guess, where it kind of separates from a kind of mesic pine land to a shrub swamp, which is over there. And I'm surrounded all these little guys. These are all little Dendrolycopodium obscurum, the flat-branched club moss. These ones are pretty tall. There's a lot of variation on in different populations, but it's always good to see. And they take a very long time to make a stand like this. So you know this area has been a solid forest for a very long time. Well over 100 years, if not over 150 years. It's probably dealt with a few instances of logging, but it probably hasn't been logged in over 100 years. Based on the size of the trees, I'd say it's almost old growth, based on how many dead logs there are. There definitely isn't too many old growth specimens of, anything in here, because most of the stuff was chopped down. What I consider old growth is over 150 years old, or any spot of forest that has yet to be farmed. But that's my definition. Here we have Betula allegensis, or the yellow birch. Here we have a nice Acer rubrum, the red maple. This is a multi-stemmed individual, probably split early, or it is a suckering of a old stump, which that's likely to be. And where these stumps combine is likely the old width of the maple, because the suckers always grow on the edge of like a cut down stump. So, like, for example, well, that's a terrible example, but just pretend this is huge. The suckers from the maple would be growing on around it. So you can imagine this big maple was cut down, and it was about this wide when it was cut down, and this is probably, I want to say 70 to 80 years of growth. So this originally was a very large tree. A very large tree. And maples always kind of come back from a rootstock. Unless you kill the rootstock. Pines don't come back from rootstocks. You cut them down, they're dead. Look at that big boy over there. Holy smokes. Growing right along the swamp. Pines along swamps always tend to be big and beautiful and huge. Here we have Calcladium imponens, the most common moss in the area, growing on this pine log. Beautiful Vicinium corymbosum with a high bush blueberry. These little buds are where the flowers and fruit will be. Little bell-shaped white flowers in April, and then turns into a delicious blueberry. Here's your bark. The new growth always has these big green stems. And I enjoy how they grow. They just kind of send suckers out, and then the suckers kind of droop off and get all these branches. So basically this is what this is going to be. This is going to turn into a bunch of branches. And then it'll branch out, and then it'll flower. And it'll continue to slowly grow and flower along these. And then eventually they get shaded out, and then they start to kind of, snap off. And then eventually it forms this vase-shaped structure. One of my favorites. Bright red foliage in the fall. And just, I like the arching habit. It's very unique. It's interesting. It's like a at-home bonsai. They're like do-nothing bonsais, more or less, because they grow like a bonsai thing. You just gotta let them get to their size, if you know what I'm saying. Check out that crystal structure of this little puddle. I love that. So this here is Dendrolycopodium hickey. It's a hickey because it is not flat branched. It should be, instead of hickey, it should be like anything but hickey. Hickey doesn't mean anything to me. it's just a name. I mean, now I can associate the name with the plant, but I don't want to. Why? It doesn't tell me anything about the plant. You know, this should be round-leaved round stem dendrolycopodium. So you could call it like Dendrolycopodium rotundifolia for being round, or rotunda stem, whatever the Latin word for stem is. But that's what this is, and I couldn't tell the difference until a local expert told me. I was like, oh, how you identify that is the stems can roll around in your fingers. I'm just like, you know, that's just stupid, you know? You call it like, if the name is going to be of a plant, you're going to give it like a Dendrolycopodium. Like, I think you should only be able to name the genus, all right? And then the second thing always has to mean something, you know? It can't just be like a stupid fucking name. But that's my rant. It's going all throughout here. So we got to figure out a new name for this. Round stem Dendrolycopodium. That's what I'm going to call it, because that's the distinguishing factor, because the more common flat-branched one has flat branches that can't roll around in your fingers. And that one's like obscurum or something like that. But very nice, either way. In a forest of pure Dendrolycopodium, it's pretty much an older forest that has been kind of knocked back. It used to be mostly oak, and it's since grown in about maybe 10 years, if that, with these young pines and everything else. But the Dendrolycopodiums are thriving with the increased sunlight. It's flat branch, there's hickey. Look how beautiful the hickey is. Very nice. Here's that Dendrolycopodium forming a dense ground cover, which is quite rare, and it means that you're in an exceptionally nice forest. Because these are more or less disturbance intolerant, and they do start to grow in some of the more disturbed forest, or forests that used to be farmland, so young forest, down in like Groton and whatnot. You barely have any of these. They're very sparse. But they take a very long time to get to this density. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is an old population, whereas the ones in Groton are very young. So some of the populations in Groton are literally just a few sporadic stems. So you know, in areas it's been thoroughly altered, to say the least, because this is how they would usually look if, you know, it was basically knocked back, nothing was there, and that's what colonized it. And so ones in Groton have been recently colonized, and this is a very old kind of population. That's what I'll try to say. And right here we have Vaccinium angustifolium, or lowbush blueberry. Looking nice. Here we got beautiful Thelia hurtella growing on this trunk. And then I do not know what this other moss is. I think it's a it's a moss. It could be a number of genuses that I can't really remember the name of. But it is beautiful. And it's not the red stem moss, it's something different, something similar. And this is mixed with the Thelia. The Thelia is basically all the other moss. It's the different one is this kind of big furry one. Beautiful lichen too. Here's another mystery moss. It's I want to say it's a dicranum, but it's a different dicranum from the dicranum you usually see. Dicranums are quite diverse around here. There's got to be at least like a dozen species or more. Whereas like Polytrichum, you might find 2 or 3 species. Thudium delicatum is thudium, like it's very common, you know, and they're all pretty similar. Whereas these guys, like, you know, they're different between the two different dicranums. Now I'm in a habitat I dislike walking through, and that is a pine clethra briar swamp. And these areas are interesting, just not right now. Like, they're a pain in the ass to go through, and while they are highly diverse, fuck, I hate hiking through them. because you can only wear so much. And, this is my winter gear. These are my waterproof pants, and I don't want to be hiking in this habitat. It's going to tear up my waterproof pants. If I was wearing normal work pants, I'd go through it, because that's like armor pretty much. So I think I'm going to go back. Stay in the open area. Here we have Fruliana, or New York scalewort. It's in the genus Fruliana. I'm pretty sure it's New York scalewort. It's a scalewort. A Fruliana. Little tiny liverwort. And it grows on pretty much every tree. And they're dark red right now. And then also on this tree, showed you before, that's Thellia hurtella. Get a close look at that. And then we have a weird little, this is an atrichum. And those are its little spory dudes, those little sticky guys. So I'm gonna need a picture of that one. And then it's another mystery one, which I think I just saw, but I can't put an ID on it. Not yet, at least. I know it's very different. That's all I know. Here we have it. Another weird one. It's just another mystery. Alright, here's a thought. Snowflakes are ice crystals. Clouds are ice crystals. Are clouds just condensed snowflakes? Just gatherings of snowflakes? Because I think they are. So when you look up at the sky and you see clouds, you're like, oh look, it's snowing. Or there's snow over there. Because that's pretty much what that is. On my way back to the trail, and I just got a wall of frickin' greenbrier. I mean, it's fine. I can squeeze through there. Just they suck, especially when they get big like this. But apparently they might be diverse underneath. We got Calmeolatifolia and Dendrolycopodium hickey in here. Let's squeeze through here. Kind of rebelly young. Ugh. Alright, now we're out on the trail. There we are. So here we have a Baptisia tinctoria, or yellow wild indigo. Tiny yellow flowers. This is a pea family. We got a little blue stem grass, which is Schizachyrium. And we have this funky Lespedeza. I gotta try to remember what my Lespedezas are. I'll relearn them more or less. It's not the bush one. It's not the hairy bush clover. But they're another diverse group with maybe a dozen or more. Growing in dry, kind of dry, pretty much dry sun, because this is very sandy soil here. Here we have Quercus rubra, the northern red oak. So it makes you wonder, what are the other oaks I see all the time? Because this is the northern red. Oops. starting to learn the leaf shape of these. Because there's like a lot of... I feel like oak diversity is pretty high here. I feel like there's a lot of variation. So here's what I believe to be a dust lichen covering this other kind of branchy lichen. The dust lichen is that blue color, and the branchy lichen has the branches. But you can see the blue color, when it's off by itself, it doesn't really have any shape. It's just really kind of... It's like very miniature versions of these, except they're super teeny tiny. And then these ones, you know, you can see they're branched, and they're definitely distinct. Here's a bunch of them right here. Now what's happening is the little crust is colonizing the surface of the branched one. Look at that. And so it makes it look like it's like a bluer branched one when it's just the crust forming on top. And let's get a closer look at that cool branched one. Look at that. That thing's gorgeous. And then it fades into this, what's also on here is this shield lichen. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it is, but I can definitely see that there's multiple different types that are, in fact, distinct. Here we have a population, or I guess some saplings of young American beech. And you can see that these two have a different kind of leaf marcescence color gene. Basically, this one's darker than that one. So you can tell they're two individual plants with different, you know, genomes. You know, they're, instead of being a clone, they're like cousins, I guess. Lighter one, dark one. Because typically in a grove of them, they all marcesce, all the same color. And this one's definitely darker than that one, so that's how I can tell they're two different plants. Here's another beautiful example of Dendrolycopodium obscurum. This one's just gorgeous. This population is just gorgeous. And how you can tell it's obscurum is because when you kind of twist and twirl the leaves, you can see that if you compare it to the one I showed you, the hickey, they don't twist around in your fingers. They're flat. And they have a different way about them. Because this one's kind of more branchy. And then hickey is like spiral and, you know, not flat. We're walking up now to a beautiful granite ledge. Carved and slowly eroded over time with the glaciers. But this is the original bedrock of this area. Very acidic. Igneous rock, 300 or more million years old, and look, here's a quartz vein. Isn't that cool? And you can see the granite underneath. This Loelia is beautiful. Scalewort going on the granite. Crevasse. That's nice. Goes in probably like 3 feet. It probably goes much further. So cool. Unbilcaria mammulata. Smooth rock tripe. Here we have Denstadia punctioloba, or hay-scented fern, growing out of the rock face. We have Polypodium virginianum, with a rock polypody, always looking beautiful. Quick update on this one. I think I called it Loelia. It's actually Fruliana. Loelia is this one. This is the toad skin lichen, because it has the bumpy toad skin. Loelia, not Fruliana. Fruliana is the little tiny branchy one. I guess I gotta go back to the tree. All this. So, my bad for messing up. Now we're exiting the Mesic lowlands and getting into the rocky highlands. Almost glade-like. Look at all the beautiful ice. Alright, I just gotta follow this way. Follow the ledge. So I believe this is what is colloquially known as Wickaboxet rock. Look, we got Smilax rotundifolia here. Actually, no, this is Smilax glauca, or smooth greenbrier. Yeah, better look at that. Boom, so you know what it is. Alright, it's not focusing. Come on. There you go, boom. one of my favorite parts of this plant is its beautiful undersides with the red veins and the almost bluish like underside leaf. And this is also bluish in the sun as well. It's very beautiful. One of my favorites. Except it's spiky. But it's never gaudy like Smilax rotundifolia is. You know, this one's chill. You can't forget to mention Galusha baccata, or black huckleberry. Ever common. And it does its thing in the uplands, as well as Vicinium angustifolium. Another cool lichen, it'll be on my iNaturalist, that's all I can say. Look at this thing. That thing's fucking awesome. Look at it. Fuck. Ah, I can't get over it. That thing is so cool. I love that. Ah. Fuck. Look at it. Oh my, it's gonna be on my iNaturalist, that's all I can say. I do not know. It is a mystery lichen that is very beautiful. Oh look, is that? Dude, it's a fucking lightning bug. That's awesome. That's nice. This is Wickaboxet Rock, a beautiful view area in West Central Rhode Island. Absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, it's getting shit on by graffiti artists. But whatever, you know, it's a cool spot, so that happens at every cool spot. You know, people just want to make the art. So be it. Beautiful. Unfortunately, it doesn't have much of a west view. It has a really good south and east line. Because that's where the glaciers trended back then. They trended from the northwest. So the carved cliffs, or between like two glacial bowls, is usually the southern edge of a hill. I think that's how it goes. But either way, it's very beautiful. But what I was getting at is most view spots face either, some of them face west. Like Lantern Hill is a weird example. But a lot of them, they face just kind of either southwest or southeast, but they never truly face west. And none of them, very few of them truly face north either. Here we have Quercus coccinea, or the scarlet oak. I don't know what coccinea means, but I don't like how it sounds. Why it gotta be coccinea? Why can't it just be Rubus scarlatii? Because it's scarlet. Maybe coccinea means scarlet. So here we have a clethra. I'm not calling it clethra onifolia, even though that's the only one that's really around. But this particular species, or genotype, or whatever it is, loves rocky glades. And where it's usually found, clethra is usually found, is in muck swamps, areas that are perpetually wet. So I just find it extremely strange seeing it grow in somewhere that's more or less extremely dry. Like this is the top of a ridge. Like water, once it's on, it's off. You know, it goes right through it. So what is going on? I bet you it's a different species. It can't possibly be the same species as the one that grows in literally water. It literally grows in soaked soil. So I do not know. It's a mystery, and it's one I want to solve. So these clouds are essentially very weak lake effect clouds or ocean effect. These clouds formed likely from the Long Island Sound and just moisture from the floodplain that's watching them on shore, because that's where the wind's blowing from. It's basically blown from the ocean, blowing on land. So the moisture from the ocean is coming onto the land. And so that's what these clouds are. Pretty much the same thing as lake effect snow, but not as, bad as Buffalo, New York gets. It's not extremely heavy. It's very light. It's flurries, more or less. But it's still caused by abundant moisture from a water body. Here we have Hamamelis virginiana, or the witch hazel, common witch hazel, eastern witch hazel, multi-stemmed small tree, or very large shrub. Yellow flowers in November.